want to have conversations that we can build bridges between our communities. Race is not the center factor of the country at all, as
Agreed.
it is in America. Did you know the biggest organized African American community outside of America is in Israel? We celebrate life. They do not celebrate life. We value life. They do not value life. They killed women, husbands, children, babies, civilians. Israel's so much more than just war.
She's been making a meaningful impact on a calling that's been meant a lot to me. I want to introduce everybody to Ashira Solomon.
Welcome to Two Taps and Friends. Grab your favorite drink, get comfy, and let's dive into another episode of Two Taps and Friends.
Welcome back to Two Taps and Friends. I'm Daniel Rosenberg, host of the show. Today I have a very special guest on. In my eyes, a superstar, because she's been on the podcast circuit. She's been making a meaningful impact on a calling that's been meant a lot to me. I want to introduce everybody to Ashira Solomon. How are you today?
I'm well. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Of course. Ashira Solomon, for listener viewers, she started a podcast, and she's the creator and she's the host of the Black and Jewish podcast. She's also made regular appearances on the Quad, which is another podcast. Ashira is on, you can find her very easily. She's making a big impact for the Jewish cause and something that speaks very dearly to us on this show, as you all know. But Ashira, thanks for having us on. Could you tell the listeners and viewers a little bit about yourself, who you are, how you got to what you're doing, and what you're doing now?
Of course. So I actually was a co-host on the Quad, which is a public affairs show podcast based in Jerusalem, Israel. And that show launched right after October 7th, maybe a week and a half. And so the person who started that show is Fleur Hassan Nahum, the previous deputy mayor of Jerusalem.
Right.
And she just picked me up and said, listen, we're starting this show. It's going to be 4 Jewish women, 4 diverse voices. And, we're going to explain Israel to the international community. So that's how I got my start with podcasting and being on shows and starting in the media. Prior to that, I was a political moderator on the Women Political Leaders circuit. So I was doing things for Forbes in South Africa and going to Iceland with 500 political leaders from all over the world. And prior to that, I was getting education.
Right.
And I have a master's in public administration, and I used to work on the Hill, and I used to work at the Senate in California from the state that I'm from. And so I've always been politically involved some way or another, but I love Israel. And, even as a Jew, I feel that it is my duty to defend the Jewish people and the state of Israel.
Right. And that segues me into it. Tell us your history with Judaism. But first of all, where are you from originally? Are you from the United States, right? Where in the United States are you from?
So I'm born and raised in California. I'm a Bay Area girl. I'm not an LA girl.
Got it. That's a big distinction.
From LA.
Big distinction. No. I know the distinction. Duly noted. Duly noted.
We're a little bit more down to earth up here.
Right. That's the MO.
Yes.
Right.
So my story with Israel and Judaism starts when I was a young girl, 5 years old. My grandmother, she passed away, and it was her dream to go to Israel. And we had a background that side of the family really believed we were from the lost tribes of Israel and not associated with Hebrew Israelites. I get that question all the time.
Right.
On that side of the family, they were like Catholic and different. They went through different waves of Christianity, but felt a really strong calling to Israel. So when I went to university, all my friends went to study abroad in Europe and Italy, Germany. And I said, I'm going to study abroad in Israel because it was my grandmother's dream. And I'm her first grandchild to go to Israel. She wanted all her children to go, and they never went. My mother was busy raising 9 children and her sister 5. So they never had the time to go. So I got to university and I said, I want to study in Israel because this is my grandmother's dream.
Right.
And I went to Israel. I landed. And before I even got off the plane, I was like, I am at home. And at this point in my life, I had traveled to very beautiful countries, and
Right.
I love Italy. It's one of my favorite countries, but it never gave me a sense of home. It was a very overwhelming, weird feeling. And so that started my journey from 2016 into studying Judaism and Israel, and to eventually doing an Orthodox conversion in Jerusalem.
Wow, that's impressive. The Orthodox conversion, that's not an easy conversion. I know it well. My wife converted, and she converted as well. But the Orthodox conversion is like very, very, you got to put in the time, right? So
Yeah. When I do something, I go
right.
all in.
Yeah,
Baby.
you went all in for sure. But that's incredible, and you've been doing a lot for the Jewish community as just the advocating, because I think now, and this is really like when I started this show. I didn't start the show long ago. I own a litigation firm for 20 years, and after October 7th, I also started this podcast, and a lot of what we focus on is what's been going on in the world right now, and I think the voices like us out there that are advocating for the Judaism and sticking up for, like, it feels like we're getting attacked on all angles, right? Which would segue to where I kind of wanted to go, because you're from the Black community and you're Jewish, which is a lot of people to them that's like mind-boggling. Like, how many people, when you tell them you're Jewish, they look at you like you fell off another planet? Probably. Is that accurate? Right?
Well, it's so different because most.
Here.
Most of my Judaism comes from Israel, because that's where I converted, that's where I learned, where I went to seminary.
Right.
My whole experience is Israel. So coming back to America as a Jew, like the landscape is totally different. It's like a culture shock even for me,
It is.
And because it's like American Judaism is so different from Judaism in Israel, I would say.
Right.
So there's shock from the American Jewish community, and there's shock from, the Black community, because the African American community is going, oh, we didn't know like Black Jews exist. What's this about? And then I have to, because they see Israel and they think Israel is racist, and not only because of what they perceive to be the Palestinian issue, but what they perceive about Israel's immigration policies or refugee problem, right? So all they saw on the news and things is, oh, Israel wants to kick out all these refugees from Africa, so they must hate Black people. So when I come into this space, and I'm proud to be Jewish and proud to live in Israel, and I love Israel with all my heart, it's mind-boggling for them, because they're thinking, how do you survive there as a Black person?
Right.
Where it's interesting, because in Israel, I would say race is not the center factor of the country at all, as
Agreed.
It is in America. So as a Black woman in Israel, I don't stick out. I'm not unique because my skin color in Israel,
Right.
And yes, discrimination exists everywhere in the world. Racism exists everywhere in the world.
Sure.
But the landscape in Israel is completely different. And so I try to really sit down with the Black community and explain that to them. I have this story where I was in San Diego getting my hair done, and the lady said, "Where do you live?" And I said, "Israel." And she said, "Why would you live there? They hate Black people."
Well.
And I said, "No, they don't." And I told her, like, did you know the biggest organized African American community outside of America is in Israel? And she said,
I bet you
no.
nobody knows that. Right.
Yeah, she said, no. How do they live? How do they survive? And they just have this picture of Israel is a country of war, and Israel is a country of racism. And there's like no in between. They don't even understand. I remember I had my godmother ask me when I first went to Israel in 2016 for the summer, did you have to wrap your hair in one of those hijab things? I said, no.
Wow.
So a lot of it, and a lot of the anti-Semitism that comes out of the Black community is, in my opinion, is not rooted in so much a hate for the Jewish people as much as it's rooted in just pure ignorance. Like,
Right.
They literally don't know, and they're literally bombarded with media, news, social media that tells them one thing, and they haven't seen any voices or any information outside of Israel as a colonial state, its imperialism, its racism, it's an all-white state, it's war and it's bombs and it's dangerous. That's all they
Right.
know.
I think it was kind of a heartbreaking moment for me because my family are Israeli. I'm born in New York. I lived in Israel for 4 or 5 years. I went to school, but I'm from all over, right? I was born up north. I went to school though, like middle, and we moved to Israel for 4 years, and we moved back like middle school, high school. I was in the South, in South Carolina, in Myrtle Beach, right? But
Wow.
in Myrtle Beach, I grew up tight with the Black community because the minorities there are the Black community and Jews, right? There's not a lot of Jews now Myrtle Beach has a lot of Israelis that are there, but it wasn't a lot of Jews there. So we were tight. The Black community and the Jews, I came up with very tight with the Black community. My brother as well. Like, we were very tight with the Black community. And then when October 7th happened, and I saw like they hijacked the Black Lives Matter, they were very strategic, the Palestinians, and how, because they know what you're saying. They knew what you're saying. They knew that maybe to the outside world looks as simple as like brown people being oppressed by white people, and that most people don't know that half Israelis are brown and Black people. Like, it doesn't make any sense, right? But it was so heartbreaking to hear people in the Black community, people that I was close with, all of a sudden coming at us, like, and especially the Jewish community in the civil rights movement. Like, who stood with the Black community more than the Jewish people, right? Like, but I think that you're seeing a lot of your voices your voice is being amplified, and Dusmani Wash and all these guys that are just, that are seeing it clearly and have more knowledge or more well-rounded, have been to the place. I think you guys are the strongest voices we have right now, to be honest with you, because you're breaking the stereotype of apartheid and stuff that you and I know is nonsense, right?
Yeah,
But
exactly.
what was your mindset after October 7th? Like, you remember, like, I think it was the Black Lives Matter. I don't remember where it was, where they put that. It was like it was like the parachute thing they used on October 7th. Do you remember that when they put that out?
Yes,
What
of
was
them coming down and they
right?
made this big statement.
Right. What was your thought there?
So
Because it must have struck you even harder, right? Like,
Which
I would
it
assume.
really struck me, and that's why I wanted to start the Black and Jewish podcast. Actually, me talking about Black Lives Matter right after October 7th is my first video that ever went viral from
I watched that
being on
video.
the quad.
Yeah.
Yes, I was on the quad and starting the quad, and I attacked Black Lives Matter. First and foremost, I've never supported Black Lives Matter. If we even look at the history of Black Lives Matter, they've always had a slant towards Palestinians. Even with Michael Brown and every case that came out, they were somehow connected to Palestinians. And you're going, what does the killing of Michael Brown have to do with Palestine?
Right.
So we do have to back up the story a little bit, is that the Black Lives Matter was already rooted in Marxism, right? So they already had a hate for the Jews and Zionism, etc. However, it wasn't so much to, I guess, the forefront, because I don't know how liberal Jews supported Black Lives Matter, given that they've always been pro-Palestinian and anti-Zionism and anti-Jewish. That is from their foundation.
Right.
And then, it came out after October 7th, just full force. So when I saw that image where I believe it was the Chicago chapter that put out
Chicago,
that image, it really infuriated me. One, because most Black people are told to support the Palestinian cause because we are so sensitive as a people to oppression, right? We are the beacon of civil rights around the world. And so we don't like to see oppression or injustice for anyone, especially when we think these people are people of color and we think that they're being treated because of their race. The reason why it infuriated me so much is because Black people, the history of Black Americans in our country, we are not terrorists. And we did not fight for our freedoms with the mechanism of terrorism.
Right.
And so if you're going to make a comparison with Hamas and the Black American community, it doesn't work. Even the smallest revolts that we've seen in American history with Nat Turner, or even take the most malicious groups like Nation of Islam or Black Panther groups, right? Rarely rooted in Marxism, anti-Zionism, all the things. They never went to white homes or Jewish homes and cut off the heads of those people.
Yeah.
They never went and killed children and murdered babies. They did not fight for their rights in that way. Even the ones who were most violent, like Black Panthers, right? Who we know as Assata Shakur, killed a police officer, right?
Right.
I'm not defending that, but even with that, they were not attacking civilians, right?
Right.
So if you're going to say this argument that Hamas is just a resistance group, no, this is a terrorist group. They didn't just come over and cross the border and attack IDF soldiers. They killed women, husbands, children, babies, civilians. So I'm personally offended to have any association with my history as a Black American and the history of the Palestinians, even just the history of the Palestinians as well. We have no parallels. We really don't. And as someone who comes from an ancestry that was oppressed and did experience real oppression and saw that we had leaders birthed through civil rights movements that did not use terrorism or violence, for that matter, to get their rights and their freedoms, to then compare us to terrorists who are chopping off heads for resistance. No, I'm not letting that fly. So when I saw that, I said, absolutely not. I'm going to start the Black and Jewish podcast. We're going to speak about these things. I'm not here to convince Black people to be Zionists. I'm not here to convince them to support the state of Israel. I want to have conversations that we can build bridges between our communities, and we could be allies and we could be friends, and so that you have real information and real facts about Palestine or Palestinians, because Palestine doesn't exist, and Israel and what's actually happening. And you should be making an informed decision, not a decision based off propaganda.
Right. And if anything, if there's a parallel with the Black community, like the Black community are a symbol of, being oppressed, right? It's like we think of oppressed people. It's always the Black people are like at the forefront of being oppressed. But what other people can you think of that have been oppressed throughout the history of time all over the world, right? The Jews are like, the Jews literally are like also the face of like the oppressed. And what I think is that, I remember who said it, the Jews have the audacity to be a minority that are successful, right? And that like offends people even more. And you see the Black community in the United States is thriving and successful and doing well. And you would think that there would be, I expected a unity, and when I see the unity, it's a strong unity when it's there, like with you and these other voices. That's a strong, powerful unity that could do a lot, that could make a lot of change. What is your opinion, Ashira, on how it got hijacked? Is it the funding? How did they get into this? It looks like it's strategic. It looks like Qatar is sending money to these groups. What have you found? Because you're in the trenches. You're on the front of this. When you're debating people, some of them just seem blank behind the eyes. They have their arguments. It doesn't matter what you say or educate them. You could show them stats. You could sit in front of them and say, "I'm Jewish. What do you say to me?" Right? What do you think? Right? Like it's just like talking to zombies almost. Some of these people. What do you think? What are you seeing there? Do you see funding? Do you see like it's a systematic movement, right?
Yes, and I really want to push on the fact that, at least when it comes to the Black community, that this is not something new that popped up October 7th. We have to remember that Yasser Arafat, he built alliances with the Black community. He knew that in order to gain support around the world, that he needed to build strategic alliances with Black Panther movements and different movements and different militia groups that were here, or revolutionary groups of Black Americans. And he built those alliances with them. And we've seen different Black leaders even then going to Israel, visiting Yasser Arafat, doing tours, etc. Same with some South African leaders, etc. So it's been deeply rooted. Also, we have to speak to culture. So yes, Qatar is funding now and is flooding social media as well, but we cannot forget about culture and what we are being perceived as in terms of Hollywood, right? So when I speak to Black people, everyone of them go back to Hollywood. What's happening in the music industry? What's happening with Jewish executives and rap artists and etc. And so I don't come from a Hollywood space. I'm not a rapper or artist, so I can't speak to those issues. But the people I've
Have you
had on
tried?
my
Just
show,
interrupt. You might be good at it. You tried just to throw you off of it. Have you tried coming out of LA? Should give it a go.
listen, you know
We'll
what?
do a
My
duo,
one,
me and you. We should do a duo right now, me and you. I'm joking. That would, I don't know how good that'd be. From my end, it
my
wouldn't be
one
good.
gift that I wish I had, really, and all my, like, you can ask any ex-boyfriend of mine, I wish I could rap. Like, really, I just, and I can't sing, and so now I'm tone deaf, but I literally wish I could rap. And when I was in university, I did slam poetry. So I did poetry for a little bit, but other than that, I can't rap.
You probably can rap then. You probably could rap. You probably could rap. Maybe I convince you before the end of this.
I could.
It'll get you to freestyle a little bit. But, you know, I didn't mean to interrupt your thought, but you were saying it in the music
Drop the
industry.
beat.
The way we were doing the sound, the beat might take a little time here a second ago.
Right.
It was good. But yeah, you were in the middle of, you were saying.
The biggest attack that I see among Black people, and especially Black men, is they have a problem with whatever they perceive to be in the Hollywood industry. And so they go and they say, well, the Jews started the porn industry, the Jews started Hollywood, the Jews started, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I always ask the question, like, so are we not allowed to have, people in our community who may not do good things? Are there other people in other communities who have not done good things? Why are Jews held at a different standard? And why, if one Jew does something bad in their eyes, it's a blanket for all of us? They don't like it when they do it to Black people, right? When they say, right. Oh, look at all the Black people, they're part of gangs and they're murderers and they're et cetera. We don't like it when it's done to us, because for me, I don't know what the hood is about, because I'm from Northern California. I've never grew up in a ghetto. I've never, seen gang members. So I'm not associated with it. So I don't understand why whatever they choose to say about a Jew that they seen do something bad now equates to all Jews are bad, and so it just speaks to the root of the anti-Semitism, which I think, the end of the day, we have to be honest, I think it's rooted in a lot of jealousy of success, a lot of jealousy of that the Jewish community is very insular, very tight, and instead of learning certain things from the Jewish community to mimic, they get jealous of it and they hate it.
Right. I think a lot of people don't realize with Hollywood too, the people say the Jews run Hollywood. First of all, I don't know if the Jews run Hollywood anymore, because apparently Saudis and Qataris have bought a lot of the studios over there. That's what I'm hearing. And the Jews started Hollywood out of necessity. If you know the history, right, they weren't allowed to hold jobs and be in the stock market and all that, so they came out there. So of course there's going to be Jews in the industry. And that's why I say, I think like the community gets punished for thriving. Right. And it's a cultural thing, right? It's a cultural thing. Right. I try to explain this to people. I always joke, like, if there's a Jewish conspiracy call, I'm never invited, and I must miss that call once a week, because I've never been at any conference call to run the world, right? But me
neither. Right? I want my $7,000 a post as well. Like, where's the money?
I'm surprised. Have you been accused of that yet? I'm surprised you haven't been accused of that yet.
No, I don't mind the accusation. Is it true? Can I get the $7,000 a post?
Is it per appearance, or is it a one-time fee? Is the question, right? Is it like the 71 Virgins where it's a one-time shot, or do we get them like with the suicide bombers? No, that's that's true. Like, no, but it's people don't like the simple things that, like, I just had a person, like what you said, exactly true. It's the singling out. It's the double standard, right? I just had a panel on, and we were talking about the peace situation, the tentative peace situation that we have in Israel right now. And, we were talking about the two sides and how I don't trust Hamas, and you always have to kind of be uneasy with them. And the one person who was kind of pushing back, we had him on to push back. I mean, he's a good person, but he was pushing back, was he would bring up like one settler that did something 20 years ago. And I'm like, okay, well, that was a bad person, right? Like, he was a criminal. Like, every society has an element of criminal in it. There's criminals, right? But it's the fact that
between the Jews and the Palestinians is very simple. We celebrate life. They do not celebrate life. We value life. They do not value life. And we do not celebrate when our people commit crime or terrorism or whatever you want to put in, whatever term you want to put in, because they like to say, well, the settlers are terrorists. We do not celebrate if we see a settler, attack a Palestinian. We do not see Jews or Israelis coming out in droves, throwing out, chocolate candy, saying Baruch Hashem, Baruch Hashem, Baruch Hashem.
Right.
We don't celebrate the evils of our communities. It does not mean that we are a purified people, meaning that we have no Jewish person ever on earth hasn't done anything bad. That is not what we're saying. But what we're saying is we celebrate life. Our values are in life. Our values are in goodness. Our values are in justice. Their values are not. And people like to say, well, all people and all cultures are equal. I'm sorry. All people and all cultures are not equal. All people and all cultures do not have the same values. And so we're not treating Hamas and Palestinians like they're second class people or any of those things. We are treating them based on the fruit of what we see them bearing. They celebrate death. They encourage martyrdom, and that's what they value. That is where their values are. And so until their values change, I'm sorry, you cannot compare one Jewish person, one Jewish settler doing something bad to an entire community where their values are rooted in martyrdom.
Right. So that's exactly what I said. And my point was, we could talk about all the different aspects of this peace agreement or whatever it is, the hostages, and then, all the Arab nations helping in a certain way. But the root of the problem has to be addressed. That's what I'm saying. The root of the problem is the anti-Semitism and the way that this culture has been brought up. And I tried to say, I use an example like, well, think of like the worst Klansmen, the 63 Mississippi KKK, right? I threw out a name. Imagine if that culture had the opportunity to perpetuate itself for at least the 25, 30 years since, or 20 years since the 2005 withdrawal, right? But for 70 years, imagine where that has been pumped up and allowed to fester. Unless you deal with that, all of this is going to be a temporary fix. You're not going to really understand the issue. And I say, when I debate people, we have to at least start on this point, right? We have to agree that there's an issue, because you can't say that 99% of Israelis hate Arabs and want to kill Arabs. You can't say that. You can't even say, you might be say 1-2%. I don't even know. I'm making up a number, but it'd be much lower, right? Whereas the Palestinian side, you would have to say a majority if you're doing your research and you're on the ground. I'm not going to say all, obviously. A majority, right?
We can't say all. We can't say all to anything, right? But we know majority. We saw what the IDF went in and saw children's school books and what they were teaching at UNRWA schools. It's in their education to hate Jews. It's in their education to say, from a river to the sea, Palestine will be free. I don't understand why people don't believe what Hamas is telling them.
Right.
I seen this girl, this journalist, Brianna Joy, I believe is her name.
God.
McLeay or something, and she did that debate, and she said, Hamas, they just want sovereignty. They just want a state in sovereignty. Where does it say that in the Hamas charter? That's not what they want.
Right.
So now we have people here in the West telling us what Hamas wants, and Hamas is telling them what they want. They don't want to live next to a Jewish state. They don't want a state next to the Jewish state. They want to wipe out the Israeli state. They don't want a peace where we coexist together. And people are putting words in their mouth, and they didn't say that. So I don't understand why people can't accept what Hamas has said.
Right. I think that they've been so hijacked into this oppressor. They've been pushed into this narrative so much that they see everything in those eyes. And it's so much like you said, I don't see how liberal Jews supported the Black Lives Matter. But listen, when you hear Black Lives Matter, you want to support that kind of a cause, right? Of course,
Of
Black Lives
course.
Matter. Like, who doesn't want to? They're very good at their branding, right?
Of
So,
course. I say this all the time. The Democrats, the liberals, they are the best at slogans. You
right?
know, me too. You
Okay.
know, Black
Yeah.
Lives Matter. Who doesn't want to get behind that?
Right,
You know?
right. And
Of
so,
course. How do you say, oh, well, no, it doesn't? You know, you can't fight the slogan.
right. I mean, it's powerful. And what do you think of what's happening in New York City right now, Mandami? What do you think of this guy? What do you think of the fact that people are bought into this? The Jews, our people, are bought into it. I don't know, but I hear like 40% support him. I don't think that's a real number, but I know that he has support from some of the Jewish community. What are your thoughts on that? Because to me, when I see the Jews that are like pushing for the Palestinian cause and like, you know, really coming down on Israel, like it's hard to me. It makes me angry. I had other people on here that take it more heartbreaking. They say, well, it's like brothers that are troubled, or you know what I mean. But to me, it's offensive times 10. I don't know. But what are your thoughts on that? What do you when you see this happening in New York?
I'm with you where it is heartbreaking. It's offensive to see our brothers, you know, dissent from us and not come together in a time where we need to be unified. It doesn't mean that all of us need to be Republican or all of us need to be Democratic, but we need to be unified in terms of defense of our Jewish people and our one Jewish state. I have a bigger, I think, spiritual outlook on what's happening in New York and what's happening across, you know, just the United States and Europe and Israel in general. I've been praying and pondering on this a lot of like, what do I want this next year to look like in terms of advocacy and, you know, where's the Jewish, where are we going as a people, you know? And when I think about New York and what's happening in New York, I am not afraid because I realize that Hashem picks at each and every leader. And if Mamdani gets elected, that is going to be a sign to the Jewish people for something. What? I don't know. I'm not a Navi, I'm not a prophet, right? But Hashem picks every leader. Hashem controls our world. So we cannot be in fear when bad leaders come into leadership, because we've had that throughout our entire history as well.
Oh, yeah.
But more so, I think we need to look inward and say, okay, what does that mean to us as a community? What does that mean to us, how we're going to move forward in the Jewish people? What does our future look like now, you know? And so I'm less concerned about him be elected, and I'm more concerned about us having a futuristic outlook and saying, what do we want to do as a people? Let's look inward. The whole entire world is against us, right? But maybe this is something Hashem is trying to show us that we need to, you know, do inwardly and work on ourselves inwardly. How do we want to protect ourselves? How do we want to defend ourselves? And what's our next steps? For me, as an Orthodox Jew, my perspective, and a staunch Zionist, my perspective is that I do believe that Jews need to start making aliyah to Israel. Some people, you know, have their various beliefs on that. Some people believe we don't need to be in the land. Some people believe we'll all be in the land once Mashiach comes, etc. But I do believe that America is a great nation. It's a beautiful nation, but it does not belong to us. God gave us a gift, and it was the gift of the land of Israel. That is our inheritance. That is what belongs to us. That's what we should be fighting for. That's where we should be putting our energy towards to continue to build up that land. We need to take the minds of the people who built Hollywood and who built so many great things here in America. American Jews have given so much to America. America has given back to American Jews in such a great way. And I think we need to take a lot of that success and apply it to Israel and build up the nation and the land that was given to us by our God, because it belongs to us and it's our inheritance. And the reason why we love the land of Israel is not just because the land is holy. We love the land of Israel because we love our God who gave it to us, because it belongs to us. And so for me, I think my new message is I want every Jew to understand that they have a powerful inheritance. And they should take part in that inheritance. And that is the land, that is Torah, that is Shabbat. And I think my new way of thinking is more inward of what I can do for the Jewish people and how we can reignite and put a desire in our hearts to even desire to go to the land of Israel.
Right. How often are you in Israel these days?
So I was there for the entire summer, and I was living there for 2 years, and then I left after the first Iran attack because my parents freaked out. And yeah, in April of 2024.
Like, I'm fine. I'm in the shelter. It's fine. I'll be right out. The Israelis are so they're such strong people. Like, I'm going to go to bomb shelter for a little bit. I'll come back out. We'll have some tea. We'll go back in the bomb shelter, So I bet it was hard for them to fathom,
So this is why I say God is in control. So I left April 2024 was the first attack from Iran, right? Because my parents freaked out. Right. I came back June of this year, 2025, and I was there and stuck in Israel because Iran attacked again. Right. So I believe God was saying, listen, you don't get to leave the land thinking you're going to go find safety. I will bring you back just so you can experience another war with Iran. So, at the end of the day, there's no running, right? Like, God puts you in the place that you're supposed to be at the right place at the right time. There's no finding protection, thinking that your protection comes from a leader, thinking that your safety is going to come from a leader. Like, we have to put our trust in safety and reliance in God first,
Right. I agree. And it's great. Honestly, I love talking to you because it's great being with other Zionists, especially a Zionist. It's like a warrior on the front the way you are. And it's just greatly appreciated. It's noticed. I'm sure you're getting noticed now, but it's noticed. It's something that it's just powerful. Like, with the apartheid, do you want to speak a couple minutes about Israel, if you don't mind, to the listeners and viewers? I'm out here saying there's no apartheid there. It's ridiculous. Like, it's literally, I showed a graph on the earlier panel showing how many Arab Israelis there are, Muslims, how many Christians there are, the demographics. Like, when you go there, like, I'm half, my family are Ashkenazi on my father's side, but my mother is like Libyan and Moroccan, right? So, like,
no, you got the mix. I like the mixed ones because you get the Ashkenazi proper, and then we get the swag, Sephardic spice.
Oh yeah, 100%. It's very confusing in my mind, like in my head, it's a very confused head. No, but it's 100%. Like, people don't understand. Like, I don't think there's more diverse culture you see U.S. The U.S. is diverse, right? And that's what's beauty about the U.S. The beautiful thing about it. But in Israel, it's more, and the cultures, and then even the Jews, the cultures are so different. There's Jews that come from like Europe that look at the Mediterranean Jews and the Mizrahi Jews like they're out of their mind, and they look at they're out of their mind. And then you have the Black Jewish community. You have this. Talk a little bit for a couple minutes, if you don't mind, to the listeners and viewers about the diversity that is Israel.
I love that you said everyone thinks they're out of their mind. So when I speak about racism or discrimination in Israel, I say, I love the discrimination that exists in Israel because everyone gets equally discriminated against.
Oh,
I go to the Ashkenazi table, they're like, oh my gosh, like the Mizrahi, they're taking over. The Sephardic, my children, they're not speaking in Yiddish anymore. They're speaking like that. And then I go to the Mizrahi table, and then everyone hates the Russians,
Yeah.
Everyone gets it. Everyone gets it,
Yeah,
I had a taxi driver. He goes, are you married? And I said, no. And he said, listen, I'm half Yemenite and half Moroccan. Please don't marry a Yemenite. They're cheap, He's like, get a Moroccan husband, whatever you do, right? But then I go to someone else, a French Ashkenazi dude, she's like, do not marry Moroccan, they're too controlling. Like, everyone has everything,
Right.
But in terms of diversity, Israel is so incredibly diverse. The apartheid claim is like so insane to me because all you have to do is first just land in the airport to know there's not apartheid.
Right.
There's no bathrooms that say this is for the Jews and this is for the Arabs, or this is for the Jews and this is for the non-Jews. We have every sign in Israel is in English, Hebrew, Arabic, you know?
Right.
And furthermore, if apartheid exists, it exists against the Jews, right? There are Israelis who cannot go to certain areas in the West Bank, right? There are Arab Muslims who are, or not just Muslims, but Arabs in general, who are Israeli citizens. Some identify as Palestinians, some just identify as Israelis, but they hold Israeli citizenship, and they can opt out of serving in the IDF.
Right.
It is mandatory for every Jewish Israeli to serve in the IDF. Arabs do not. They have a choice. They can opt in or opt out. So in my case, I think that if apartheid exists, it exists against the Jews.
100%.
But in terms of just, fun and beauty of Israel, I have so much fun there. They have beautiful beaches, beautiful cultures, food. Israel's so much more than just war and fighting with the Palestinians. When I first studied in Israel, I had a Palestinian Arab Christian roommate, a Palestinian Arab Muslim roommate, a Chinese roommate, and then a white American roommate from Georgia. Okay. And we were all in one apartment together. So you could just imagine how that was, right?
Right.
And I've been to East Jerusalem. I love to tell people this because they don't know this about me. I have a very close family that I'm very close to that is in East Jerusalem, who's actually taking me around the West Bank because I could go with them on my American citizenship. And they've taken me to various Arab villages in Hussan and Ruwabi. Ruwabi is this little township of Arabs, and it's very rich. I mean, the mosque was built like $1 million. They have like a 5-level mall there. I mean, it's just like the wealth there is just incredible. And you're like, what? This looks so different from Bethlehem, where it's just, whatever. But that family knows that I'm Jewish. That family has a store where they serve Jews. They get along with Jews, right? They did have a position that they want a Palestinian state, right? They would tell me things that they felt sometimes like they were mistreated by IDF soldiers when they go through the cross points and things like that. But they would also say, like, we do not hate the Jewish people. We want to have peace. We want our own state. We want to raise our families in peace. I was invited to Ramallah with them to weddings, and I went to the banks with them. That was a little crazy, though, because they would tell me, welcome to Palestine. And I would say, oh, we're in Israel.
Oh, yeah.
And so
you knew what
I
to
was
say,
risking my life with that one.
Right. You literally don't turn it off. That's good. That's why we love you. You know what I mean? But that's
no.
Great.
So before I was religious, they would tell me, I went to a club in Ramallah, and they said, Ashira, when we walk in this club, don't speak Hebrew and take off your Madin David. Oh. And I said, Hebrew, even though my Hebrew is not great, I said, that is the only language we can converse in because you guys don't know English. I'm not going to stop speaking Hebrew, Right. And maybe I was ignorant, but I had the protection of Hashem, and I kept on my Madin David, and I spoke the Hebrew because that's the only way I could communicate what I needed,
Right.
But this particular family, they impressed me in many, many ways because I was able to see things from their perspective, and I was able to still be, very Zionist. And a lot of their family members would always use the term Palestine and welcome to Palestine, and I would correct them, and they would have civil, debates with me. They thought I was kind of like this ignorant American, so I think maybe that's why I got away with it. But all that to say that, of course, all is not bad. And in the north, where a lot of Arabs live, I love the northern part of Israel. The Arabs and the Jews get along so well. It's not this constant
Haifa, right?
Fighting. Haifa, yes, right? Like they say Haifa is our future, where Christians, Muslims, Jews, they all live there like very peacefully.
Right.
And so I do hate that sometimes Israel is painted like you're gonna drop down and you're just gonna get bombed. You know, you're gonna drop
Right.
down and
Oh
you're gonna
yeah.
get attacked. It's a very safe, it's a very safe place. And I say this with all honesty and sincerity that I feel safer walking the streets of Jerusalem than I do in Miami or California or New York. I don't even take public transportation in New York or in California because I feel so unsafe. But that is not the case in Israel. I don't feel unsafe. And it's a weird position to be in, right? Because we do have our neighbors right there who are trying to attack us and commit
Right.
terrorism. But the culture of Israel is not crime ridden, right? The people there are not trying to steal from you and hurt you and attack you. So even as a woman, you can walk around with a lot of sense of safety because the people are like very communal and very loving. And again, they call out things that are not right or not unjust. They do not have a society. The Israeli society is not a society that is going to, you know, celebrate crime and terrorism and attacks. They will call out their side when it's not right. They call out the good, they call out the bad. But I have so much fun living there. And I lived in Jerusalem for many years, and that's, you know, my favorite city. And for those people who are seeking God and they want to go to India or they want to go to Bali because they
Right.
think they're going to have the spiritual enlightenment or the
Right.
spiritual awakening, I always say you need to go to Jerusalem. That's where God is, and that's where you'll meet God.
Yeah. I mean, you know, that feeling of Jerusalem, even if you're not religious, every time I go there, people don't realize it's like elevated. There's wind coming at you when you come. You just feel it, right? You're like, oh my God. Like, and then you see it and the history. And I invite people on the panels that come and try to push back. I invite them, come with me to Israel. No. I'm not going to Israel, right? I'm not going to Israel because they're scared. They think it's the war, but I agree. And,
You know, the thing about Israel, the trips to Israel, I'm starting to see on social media, it is concerning me a little bit because I do believe taking people to Israel is the best hasbara we can do. Let people see
agreed.
it with their own eyes. Come and see and form your own opinion, right?
Right.
I think it's more effective than, you know, me making a video. It's like, come. But I'm starting to see with, you know, even Megyn Kelly coming out saying she was invited to Israel and she declined it. She doesn't want to go. And then other people saying, I was invited to Israel. I'm declining. I don't want to go. So I do think that's going to be the next wave of
Like virtue
attacking
signaling.
Israel.
Yeah.
Virtue signaling is to say, I was invited and I didn't
said
go.
no.
I'm not taking that trip. It's a propaganda trip. And
Right.
so because it's our strongest defense, I believe, bringing people to the land of Israel, that's the next thing that's going to be attacked. It's not going to be, they're going to make it as if it's so untrendy to go to Israel. Or I should say the trend will be that I got invited to Israel and I didn't go. That's
Right.
going to be the new trend.
Right.
You know?
I'm seeing it. You're seeing it with artists.
Bad because the open mind, before I would say even after October 7th, people were more open-minded to still go. Like,
Right.
okay. I was just there in June on a Black and Jewish unity trip. They brought Black Americans, some Jewish, but mostly non-Jews, to Israel and showed them Israel. And these people were not pro-Israel. They weren't anti, and they were a little bit more warm to the Palestinian story, but they were open-minded, right? And so when they came with a lot of questions. And those are the type of people I believe we should be bringing to Israel. It's not that they need to already be pro-Israel or we need to convince them to be pro-Israel. It's just that they need to be able to come and ask their questions and have those questions asked honestly, which I believe every Israeli government official or activist does so well in Israel. Israel is a place where you are taught and encouraged to ask questions. It is like part of the Jewish identity in a way. Like if you are not questioning, you are not Jewish. And so the fact that we can bring people there and they can ask, you know, earnestly and honestly these hard questions that they have about what is the war? What is this conflict even about? Why did you guys do this? Why did you do that? Etc. I've seen such a transformation in this group that came. And I was so proud to be a part of that trip because there were many people who went back and stuck up for the Jewish people in Israel. And prior to that, and they lost jobs because of coming to Israel.
Wow.
And prior to that, their social media was way more, Palestinian leaning. And now they were in the middle, And I thought that's a much success. And that success only happened because they came to Israel.
Right. I think that's a big, I agree with you. That's the biggest weapon we have. Like a lot of times you meet people that were in the military, for example, and were stationed overseas in some of these, the Muslim communities where, they got to see some of the hate for the Jews and the Americans. And they're a little more clear on the issue, right? They're like, yeah, no, we're not falling for that, right? I think that's the best weapon. But I agree. I'm a little fearful when I see that too, where the people are just, it's a virtue signal to say, I reject it. I saw some band just came out and said the same thing, one of the music bands or whatever. So I hope that's not the case, but we're kind of running out of time. So I just want to say to you, do you have a last thought you want to say to the viewers, or are you good? Because I was going to give you kind of a last thought here.
My last thought is always to the Jewish people. Be strong, stay encouraged, do not fear. Our Torah has held us over and over, do not fear. It's more of a reassurance when it says do not fear, and less more than a commandment, because it sounds like do not fear, don't you do it,
Right.
But I believe it's God reassuring us, saying you have nothing to fear,
Right.
And so don't fear, move forward, and really sit with yourself, not just fighting against anti-Semitism, but going inward and thinking about light and moving forward as the Jewish people. And what does our future look like? What do you want our future to look like? And how can we better aid and support our land that was given to us, that belongs to us? And how can we continue to build that up so that more Jews can be successful in their land where there's a Jewish majority?
Agreed. Well, listen, Ashira, I will tell you, the community loves you. We appreciate you. We see you. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep up the good fight. If I'm blessed to grab you on here again, I will, any chance I can, And I thank you. Thank you for what you're doing, and thank you for amplifying voices. And if there's anything I could ever do, if you could think of, please let me know, because we're all out here on the same front lines with the same purpose. And thank you for coming on, Ashira.
Thank you. And thank you so much for having me. It was such a pleasure. And thank you for your support. The support is so needed because, we get ran down. So I really thank you for your kind words and your support. It's really appreciated.
Yeah, don't worry. The light's seen, and we're all watching. So don't let the haters get to you. There are a lot of them out there. Believe me, I get it too in the comment section and all that. But it's all noise. You're fighting a good fight, and I thank you for it. And I'll see you soon.
Yes, I'll see you soon. I'll see when I get to Miami. I'm going to call you.
That's perfect. It'd be great. We'll go find some great Israeli spots down here, by the way, if you're missing the food, So
yes.
I'll take you around.
I need some real authentic hummus.
Oh my God, I found a place. I'll tell you. Get in contact, but I'll talk to you. But thank you so much for coming on, Ashira. I'll be seeing you soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
And to all my listeners and viewers on Two Taps and Friends, for all my listeners too, thank you for everybody listening on Two Taps and Friends. Please like and subscribe to the channel. Like I say, if you like and subscribe to the channel, I get more amazing guests like Ashira. The outreach is out there. We appreciate that. You can find us on YouTube, on iHeart Radio. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. We're everywhere. So thank you for listening. We love you all. Goodbye. Cut.